welcome in for his prime debut, the NBA Commissioner, Adam Silver. Give it up for Adam.
Thank you.
History being made right now.
Welcome.
Absolutely. We are so happy to have you here with us, Adam. You know, you are 3 years into this incredible NBA Cup. I would love to know what you know is working with the NBA Cup and what you're still actively trying to get right.
Well, what's working is we wanted more games of consequence, and the players have responded, the fans have responded. We've had the 3 highest attended Novembers in the history of this league, so fans are coming out because these games are special. The ratings for the Cup games are up something like 25% from what those games were before we had the Cup. The players are definitely responding to the competition. Look at the teams that are here, the games that we saw on Saturday night, you know, and across the board, I think it's becoming a new tradition in the league. I think, you know what, we're making some changes. I think you already know. We're going to go back to home markets for the semifinal games, because I think the teams, in a way, the reason we didn't do that the first time out is teams were worried they wouldn't be able to sell the tickets on short notice. Now that they're seeing that their fans care about the Cup and they want the benefit of a home crowd and the energy that's there, so I like that idea. And the other thing is we've loved our experience in Vegas. We're talking with Amazon Prime about whether it makes sense to maybe go to some unique locations for the final game. They've suggested, for example, some like storied college arenas. So we're just looking at other ways we could do this.
Yeah, I like it.
That's great. You know, Adam, the last 7 MVPs, I think, have been international players.
Right.
I'd love to hear from you the growth of the game globally. How much of a priority is that? And could you kind of illuminate for us how much the game's grown globally?
Well, you know, when I look back over the years, when I got to the league in the early 90s, less than 5% of our players were international. As you said, it's 30% now. Our last 7 MVPs, all born outside the United States. And United States is less than 5% of the global population. So if you have a global game and kids are playing all over the world, increasingly girls too, with the growth of the WNBA and women's basketball, I think over time those numbers are going to continue to grow. Having said that, you know, it's funny, I was at an event earlier today, was talking about those same numbers, and somebody said, well, what are you going to do about the U.S. players? Now, I mean, they still represent 70% of our league, but I do think there are issues in the development programs here. You know, it's people are exaggerating, but they sort of say in international basketball, like Dirk, the way you grew up, they say internationally, kids would practice 6 days a week and play once a week, and here they play 6 days a week and practice 1. I do think with the sort of the breakdown of the traditional NCAA system as we knew it, I mean, I respect players' right to be paid in college and the whole NIL system, but now you have this constant free agency. Players aren't being developed in the same way. I think there's a lot that's broken in youth basketball here. So I think there's aspects of international training. I mean, obviously you in Canada, Dirk in Germany, that we should be stealing in the United States just to make sure we keep that steady pipeline of the greatest players coming into this league.
Hi, Adam. Thanks.
Thank you,
Speaking of international game, can you update us on NBA Europe? How many teams are you planning? What's the start date? What's the latest there? Come on, give us something.
Asking for a friend. Yeah. Well, so we have bankers out in Europe talking to interested parties. I mean, I would say I was hopeful, and we've been out there having these conversations for about a year and a half now. We had a lot of them around the Olympics in Paris, and the interest has been off the charts. Now, it's easy to express interest, but whether it's existing soccer clubs, the big brand soccer clubs that have basketball organizations but would like to be part of our league, or soccer organizations that don't have basketball teams, or other interested parties who would love, you know, see the NBA's coming to Europe. So tremendous interest. As you guys know, that there's not the same arena infrastructure in Europe, so that's something we have to look at. I think about, as you go across the United States, what's happened in so many of these markets where they built these incredibly vibrant arenas where they become community centers. There's all kinds of commercial and retail and residential development around them. There's the opportunity to do that in Europe as well. So I'm really encouraged. I think we're going to take this to the next level now, start having more specific conversations. They like say, all right, you said you're interested. Exactly what market are you interested in? How would you operate a team? Would you play an existing venue? Would you build a new arena? So that's where we are. But I'm hopeful we're going to work something out.
Yeah, Adam, you know, the league has done a fantastic job of regulating, you know, player availability rules. And while the pace may be very similar to other eras, there's vast differences in the average closeout distance, change of directions, how many times players are jumping, how high they're jumping, and more importantly, landing. How do you balance the product for the fans while not ignoring that the game has changed and it is taking a toll on players?
In a way, they're obviously, as you said, balanced or correlated in a way where if at the end of the day, because of the way the game has evolved, that it's going to be more wear and tear on players' bodies, I do think we have to look at the schedule. The issue is I also want to be true to the data.
Sure.
And like, for example, I get suggestions all the time and say, well, why don't you just shorten the season? But then I point out, like, the majority of the injuries are coming earlier in the season.
Yeah.
So obviously that's not going to help, just lopping 10 games off the end of the season. And we have statistically fewer injuries in the playoffs than we do in the regular season. And we don't have strong evidence that shows you're even more likely to get injured at the second game of a back-to-back. Now, having said all that, it may be you need more space between the games over time, and players also need an off-season. So, we're willing to look at it. There's obviously huge economic consequences as well if you start shortening the season. So I just think we got to be true to the science if we're going to make a change like that and not just do it in response to narratives out there. So like stylistically, it's interesting to what's happening in the game, and it may be another one of these areas where when you ingest enormous amounts of video through these AI platforms, you'll see that there's certain moves players are doing that you can predict that's where they're going to be injury prone, and you can detect things that, like, if you work backwards over, I've been following this ACL issue in the NFL right now. Like, I'm sure they're doing the same thing. They're saying, is there something unique about those ACL injuries? Are there particular muscles that you can develop to help avoid ACL tears? I mean, we've obviously had that issue in our league. We had a rash of Achilles injuries last year in the league. So, I would say the most frustrating thing for me, there's so many issues that people raise that I think are fixable over time. The one that's most frustrating is injuries, because keeping players like you all on the floor is what the real value comes from for the fans.
Right.
It's a team sport, but it's star-driven. And like you four are perfect examples. Like, people are coming to see the stars out there, and whether it's if they have to rest because we have some notion that that's going to improve their performance, or they're just flat out injured, either way a fan's going to be disappointed. Right. So we got to take that seriously.
Thank you.
Real quick, Adam, have you been watching our NBA Prime family, which I know you have? We just want to hear you say it. And what do you think about it? Be honest.
Of course I've been watching it. By the way, in all honesty, I love the chemistry of you guys. I mean, obviously why you did so well in a team sport. I mean, the chemistry is fantastic. And I also just say quickly, as a fan, I think you do a great job educating other fans about the game, because that, I would say, has frustrated me in the past about some coverage when it's sort of reduced to one side wanted it more, or this side played harder. And when you guys are explaining, like, why can't a guy get a shot off? Why is a particular defense working? I think the studio you guys built is off the charts, and I think the technology you're using, and when you guys go out on the floor and demonstrate things, I can say as a fan, I love that part of the coverage.
We worked really hard building that studio, Adam. A lot of sore back, late nights.
I know.
I love that. We want to inform and entertain. An absolute pleasure that you came to join us, Adam Silver. Come join us anytime. See the studio whenever you want.
We got a show Friday if you want to come by.
What about nightcap?
Yeah, come on.
Regular segment.
We need a point guard.
Thank you for bringing it on the road.
Sorry, Steve.
I'm Taylor Rooks with NBA on Prime. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to see interviews with your favorite players, experience the most exciting moments from around the league, and see what the NBA on Prime crew is up to all season long. And remember, you can hang out with us live each week during the NBA season, only on Prime.